Leave my face at once. I know you are a betrayer. You are a slut. I know there's nothing good that will come out of you. Once upon a time, in a town called Zorita, lived a young woman named Uju. She was the cherished daughter of Pastor Chinedu, the respected leader of the local church, and his devoted wife Adaeze. Raised in a deeply religious household, Uju grew up learning the values of purity and chastity. Pastor Chinedu and Adaeze, who had both married as virgins, installed these principles in their daughter and hoping she would follow their example. Uju was not only known for her beauty but also for her virtuous character. She was a shining example of the teachings of her parents, always respectful, kind, and dedicated to her faith. Her reputation as a good and well-mannered girl was known throughout Zorita. After completing her secondary education at the community college, Uju became an apprentice at the town's most renowned tailor shop, owned by the skilled Mr. Emeka. This apprenticeship was intended to keep her engaged while she awaited her admission into the university. Uju quickly proved to be a diligent and talented apprentice, eager to learn the intricate skills of tailoring. At the tailor shop, Uju met a lively young woman named Ifeoma. Ifeoma was a stark contrast to Uju. She was independent, outspoken, and lived alone in a small house that had belonged to her late grandmother. Despite their differences, the two young women formed a deep and immediate bond. They would walk home together every day, sharing stories and dreams, their laughter echoing along the busy roads of Zorita. Uju's parents, although initially worried of her new friend, soon saw the positive influence Ifeoma had on their daughter. They were pleased that Uju had found a friend who brought out her joyous and adventurous side. However, their happiness was short-lived when one evening, Ngozi, Adeze's long-term friend, came to their home with disturbing news. One evening, Ngozi paid a visit to Pastor Chinedu's home. She arrived with a heavy heart and unsettling news. Adeze welcomed her friend, sensing her unease. They sat in the living room, and after a few moments of small talk, Ngozi revealed the purpose of her visit. Adeze, I came to warn you about Uju's new friend, Ifeoma. Ngozi began, her voice low and serious. Adeze leaned in, concern itching on her face. Ifeoma's father, Akin, is a known witch doctor. Rumors say he used his dark powers to kill Ifeoma's mother. It is why she lives alone now, away from her father's house. Adeze's heart sank. She had heard whispers about Akin, but had hoped they were just that. Whispers, Ngozi continued. People are saying Ifeoma might be influenced by her father's dark practices. I think it's best if Uju stays away from her. That evening, after Uju returned home from the tailor shop, Adeze sat her down. Uju, I need to talk to you about Ifeoma. She started gently. Uju looked puzzled but attentive. Adeze relayed everything Ngozi had said, her voice trembling slightly. You need to end this friendship now, Uju. It is for your own good, her mother said. For the first time in her life, Uju felt a surge of defiance. No, Mama, I don't care what they say about Ifeoma's father. Ifeoma is a good girl and a true friend. Nothing you say will make me end our friendship, she declared firmly. Adeze was taken aback by her own daughter's resolvedness, but decided not to press further, hoping Uju would see reasons on her own. Despite her mother's warning, Uju continued her close friendship with Ifeoma. Their bond grew stronger with each passing day. They shared secrets, dreams, and supported each other through thick and thin. Ifeoma became like a sister to Uju, filling her days with laughter and companionship. However, trouble was brewing. One day, the young prince of Zorita, Prince Chidi, took an interest in Uju. He was drawn to her beauty and virtuous character. Prince Chidi approached Pastor Chinedu and Adeze, asking for Uju's hand in marriage. Overjoyed, they gave their blessings, seeing it as a honor for their family. Uju's engagement to Prince Chidi brought joy to her family and the entire town of Zorita. Preparations for the wedding began, and Uju's day were filled with excitement and anticipation. However, amidst the wedding preparations, Ifeoma faced her own set of challenges. Ifeoma was in a relationship with Ken, a charming but unreliable man. Despite his smooth talk and promises, Ken had a reputation for being unfaithful. Ifeoma, blinded by love, chose to ignore the rumors. Believing in his promises of marriage, one afternoon, Ifeoma decided to pay Ken an unexpected visit. What she saw shattered her world. Ken was in bed with another woman. Heartbroken and furious, Ifeoma confronted Ken. "How could you do this to me?" she said, crying, throwing the engagement ring in her hand given a few weeks earlier on the floor. "It's over between us." She stormed out, tears streaming down her face. Ifeoma returned to the tailor shop in tears, unable to contain her pain. Uju, seeing her friend in such state, immediately tried to console her. "Ifeoma, I am so sorry, my dear," Uju said, holding her friend close. "This is not the end of the world. You will find better man who will truly value you." Ifeoma, however, was unconsolable. She shared every detail of what had happened, and Uju felt a deep sense of pity for her friend. Despite Uju's effort to cheer her up, Ifeoma's heart was set on winning Ken back. "I overreacted, Abi," she admitted the next day. "I need to go back and beg for his forgiveness. I can't let one mistake ruin everything we had." Uju was shocked and tried to stop her from going. "Ifeoma, he betrayed you. You deserve better," she urged, but Ifeoma was determined. Reluctantly, Uju agreed to accompany Ifeoma to Ken's house. They devised a plan. Uju would go in first and speak to Ken, trying to convince him to take Ifeoma back. If he agreed, Ifeoma would then come in. They set out towards Ken's house with heavy hearts. Inside Ken's house, Uju found him looking surprisingly remorseful. He invited her in and offered her a drink. Distracted and trying to find the right words, Uju accepted. Unknowing to her, Ken had laced the drink with a mysterious powder. As Uju took a sip, she felt dizzy and soon lost consciousness. When she awoke, she realized with horror that Ken had violated her. In a daze, she tried to make sense of the situation. Just then, Ifeoma, growing impatient outside, entered the house. The sight of Uju in such a compromising state enraged her. "You sneak! I know you were untrustworthy, but I never imagined you betray me like this." Ifeoma screamed without giving Uju a chance to explain. She stormed out, leaving Uju devastated and alone. Uju was left shattered by the event at Ken's house. She felt an overwhelming sense of shame and guilt, unable to bring herself to tell her parents what had happened. The fear of disappointing them and losing her betrothed prince, Chidi, kept her silent. She tried to continue with her daily routine, but the emotional burden was too much to bear. Days turned into weeks, and Uju became a shadow of her former self. Her bright and cheerful demon faded. replaced by a constant state of sadness and withdrawal. Her parents noticed the change but attributed it to pre-wedding jitters. They had no idea of the turmoil their daughter was going through. Meanwhile, Ifeoma was consumed by anger and a desire for revenge. She couldn't shake the image of Uju with Ken from her mind. Feeling utterly betrayed, Ifeoma decided to take drastic action. Travel to see her estranged father, Ekene, the witch doctor. Ekene was surprised to see his daughter after so many years. Ifeoma, with tears in her eyes, recounted the story of how she believed Uju had betrayed her. "Father, I want you to make her suffer. Make her public disgrace," she pleaded. Ekene, seeing the hatred in his daughter's eyes, agreed to help. He handed Ifeoma a calabash and instructed her to call Uju's name into it 3 times. In 3 days, she would become worse than a harlot, chasing after men uncontrollable. He assured her Ifeoma did as she was told, her heart filled with dark satisfaction. 3 days later, Uju began experiencing strange sensations. An uncontrollable itch and a voice in her head drove her to seek out men. Despite her best effort to resist, the urge was too powerful. She found herself begging men to sleep with her, moving from one man to another, but never finding satisfaction. Rumors quickly spread throughout Zorita about Uju's behavior. People whispered about Pastor's daughter, who had become a public disgrace. Pastor Chinedu and Adaeze were heartbroken, but refused to believe the rumors. "These are lies. Our daughter is a good girl," Pastor Chinedu insisted. But the evidence, rumors of Uju's strange behavior eventually reached Prince Chidi. Concerned and perplexed, he decided to visit Uju's home to see for himself. He was still intent on marrying her, unable to reconcile the rumors with the virtuous girl he had grown to admire. When Prince Chidi arrived, Pastor Chinedu and Adaeze welcomed him warmly. They still had unto hope that the prince would marry their daughter and help her overcome whatever troubled her. Uju, despite her turmoil, presented herself with as much composure as she could muster. After dinner, Prince Chidi took Uju aside. "Uju, I have heard disturbing things. I need to know what is happening," he said gently. Uju, unable to explain the inexplicable, simple shook her head, tears welling up in her eyes. "I don't know, Chidi. Something is terribly wrong, but I can't explain it either." Despite his confusion, Prince Chidi decided to take Uju to the palace to spend some time with his family. He hoped that the change of environment might help her. Pastor Chinedu and Adaeze agreed, hoping the prince's influence would help their daughter regain her composure. That night, as Uju settled into her luxurious room at the palace, the strange itch and the voice in her head returned. Unable to resist, she found herself wandering to Prince Chidi's room. "I need you," she said, her voice trembling. Prince Chidi, taken aback by her sudden boldness, tried to resist. "Uju, are you sure? We should wait until our wedding night." But Uju, driven by the cause, persisted against his better judgment. Prince Chidi gave in. The night was long, and by morning, the prince was exhausted. Uju, still under the core's influence, wanted more. Disillusioned and frustrated, Prince Chidi realized something was terribly wrong. The next day, without a word to his parents, Prince Chidi took Uju back to her father's house. He informed Pastor Chinedu and Adaeze that the wedding was off, leaving them devastated and confused. When her parents asked what had happened, Uju lied, saying the prince was angry because she refused his advances. Pastor Chinedu hugged his daughter, proud of her supposed virtue, but deep inside, Uju felt nothing but shame. Life in Zorita became unbearable for Uju. The rumors and whispers continued, and her uncontrollable urges persisted. Every time she stepped outside, she felt the eyes of the townspeople on her, their judgment weighing heavily on her already troubled heart. She knew she needed help, but fear and shame kept her silent. One day, on her way to the tailor shop, the familiar itching and voice returned. She saw Kelechi, a young man who had once showed interest in her, but whom she had turned down. Desperate and driven by the cause, she approached him. Kelechi, surprised by her sudden change in demeanor, quickly took advantage of the situation. But even after their encounter, Uju felt no relief, only deeper shame and self-loathing. As her behavior grew more erratic, Pastor Chinedu and Adeze could no longer ignore the rumors. They noticed the drastic changes in their daughter and decided to confront her. Uju, what is happening to you? This is not the girl we raised, Pastor Chinedu said, his voice filled with sorrow. Uju broke down in tears. I don't know, Papa. Something is wrong with me. I can't control myself. Her parents were heartbroken, determined to help their daughter. They gathered a group of trusted church members and began a fervent prayer section seeking divine interventions. For days, they prayed tirelessly. Uju's condition worsened, and evil spirit within her fought against their prayers. It was a grueling battle of faith and will. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, the spirit left Uju's body. She collapsed, exhausted but free from the curse that had tormented her. Uju slowly began to recover. Her family and the church community rallied around her, providing support and encouragement. The ordeal had left her emotionally scarred, but she was determined to rebuild her life. With her parents' help, she applied to university far from Zorita, hoping for a fresh start. Months later, Uju received an acceptance letter from the prestigious university in the big city. She was overjoyed and ready to leave her painful past behind. Her parents were supportive, believing that this new chapter would bring healing and growth. In the big city, Uju threw herself into the studies, excelling academically and making new friends. She slowly regained her confidence and joy. The painful memories of Zorita began to fade as she embraced new life. During her final year, Uju met a kind and intelligent young man named Chukwuemeka. They shared many interests and quickly fell in love. Chukwuemeka's gentle nature and unwavering support helped Uju heal further. When he proposed, Uju felt a deep sense of happiness and hope for the future. After their wedding, Uju and Chukwuemeka moved to the big city permanently. They lived a happy and fulfilling life, but made sure to visit Zorita regularly to see Uju's parents. Each visit was bittersweet, a reminder of her past, but also a testament to her newfound love and confidence. On one such visit, Uju was shocked to see a mad young woman begging for alms by the roadside. The woman's gold face and wide eyes seemed familiar. As Uju got closer, she realized with a jolt that it was Ifeoma, her former best friend. Heartbroken by the sight, Uju reached out to her, but he saw Ifeoma talking to herself. Uju learned from the townspeople that Ifeoma had gone mad shortly after Uju left for the university. The weight of her guilt and the consequences of her actions had driven her to insanity. Uju felt a pang of sorrow and compassion for her once dear friend. Determined to help, Uju convinced Chukwuemeka to bring Ifeoma back to the city with them. With the support of Chukwuemeka and her parents, Uju arranged for Ifeoma to receive the medical and psychological care she desperately needed. It was a long and challenging process, but slowly Ifeoma began to show signs of improvement. Uju visited Ifeoma regularly, offering forgiveness and a listening ear. As Ifeoma's mind cleared, she began to remember the past and the terrible things she had done. Uju, I am so sorry, she wept one day. fully aware of her actions. I was blinded by anger and hate. I ruined your life. Uju held her hand, tears in her eyes. I forgive you, Ifeoma. We were both victims in our own ways. Let's move forward and heal together. The two women, once torn apart by betrayal and anger, began to rebuild their friendship on a foundation of forgiveness and understanding. They supported each other through their journeys of healing and redemption. Uju's life, once shattered by darkness, was now filled with light and hope, proving that even the deepest wounds could heal with time, faith, and love. And so, in the town of Zorita and the bustling city, Uju and Ifeoma's story became a powerful testament to the strength of the human spirit and the transformative power of forgiveness and redemption. Please, guys, make sure you subscribe to this our channel. We're bringing massive, beautiful, intriguing stories to you. Please subscribe, share this story, love, like, and tell us what you think on the comment section. See you in the next